Lands and waters may you cross, see mountains white and blue, but on your road let's not forget the love I have for you.
Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Shadow of Mordor video walkthrough. This is the main mission. It's a trap! And it is. So let's not keep him waiting, shall we? So in this mission we're going to be taking on a war chief. We have to enter his trap to trigger it. After the trap is triggered we're going to have to kill him, and he's probably going to come with captains. The war chiefs, I don't think they're randomised, because I've played through this game again since this and I got some of the same names. Their abilities might be random, or it might be just the captains that are random. I'm not entirely sure how the system works, but what I do know is every so often things are the same. Sometimes they differ slightly, and other times completely different. I don't quite know. Oh my goodness, you see that? That was literally Splinter Cell, the original, trying to get on anything that is above Sam Fisher. However, this is a modern game, and I was very surprised to see that drop. It had to be my placement, it must have been poor. At the time it felt okay, but just, oh, textures, oh, slow down. Oh, this game. I had forgotten just how poorly it runs on the last gen. Excuse me, but this can be quite tricky, this, if you've not researched the target. If you've researched him, you'll know how to approach him and how to beat him using his fears and his weaknesses. Maybe it's an orc who doesn't have fear or weaknesses, or the ones they do have are really eclectic and hard to utilise. This one here is a 14-minute long video which tells you we're about to go to war here. There's going to be a very big siege against these idiots. Because I don't have the ability to brand yet, I don't have the most powerful way of fighting these kind of numbers. So instead, we're going to check exactly what this guy can take, exactly what he can't take, and then we're going to respond accordingly. So he's a crossbow guy, he's low resolution, and he's immune to combat execution, so he has combat master, and I'm going to move away. So the next thing I should really check is if he's immune to being jumped over, because when you jump over them you can get a really good advantage to keep looping them. I'm also going to lure them towards the Caragors, it seems, and use the nature against them, which is a really good strategy, because you never know, one of them might be afraid of the Caragor, then you can use Shadow Strike unless they're immune to range, and you can immediately execute them and get rid of them. So this is the next thing I'm going to try. If you're feverishly commenting right now, why didn't I research the people and find out what they were afraid of and do the most effective way of beating them? Intentionally, I avoided learning about the captains and the war chiefs so that it would be completely blind when I fought them and I had to make it up as I went along. I appreciate that that might be counterintuitive to how a walkthrough should be, but at the same time I think it makes for much more interesting gameplay. Unless you're looking for, this is how to destroy this game, because then that would be much better, but for the purposes of this, which is me just giving you a walkthrough on a game that isn't very tough, I think it definitely makes it slightly different to every other one out there, because maybe they'll do this in 2 minutes. You know, maybe they'll not have this grand siege against all these orcs like I'm doing here. So the first guy, the first captain, can be shot with arrows, which is good news, because it means I can whimper him down. And apparently he hates pain, but that is not a weakness. That means he's going to be buffed, I think, because he's got angry. So you need to be aware if you're going to activate those passives that it will make them harder. This guy's just here, and he makes things slightly more awkward, but he's on his own, so I'm going to hit him a few times, test him out, see what he's weak to. Can we do the combat moves? We can. So this is the loop I mentioned, but I didn't do it right just then. After the flurry kill, immediately go into an execution, and as the knife stabs into the orc, you can cancel it into a normal execution and do both animations and get both the damage much quicker. He's green now, so we can finish him off, but once again, if I could change this game in any way, I would make it so that the moment you go into that, you're invulnerable, so there's nothing like what just happened. I think you could slow the grab down, so it takes him maybe a little bit longer to grab them, or make it so that enemies are immune to being grabbed unless you stun them. And then I think it would work perfectly. But as it stands, every time you get grabbed, you get hit sometimes, unless you're really fortunate, and it's a pain in the arse. So just then, instead of interrogating him and learning about more war chiefs to help us, you know, find where they are on the map and kill them, I ended up running away and shoot him in the face with an arrow, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to grab him, because the game was just going to be, you know, cock block central. And Sometimes it feels like it's going out of its way to do that, and you'll notice there are moments where the game gives you everything. You try anything, it works. There are other moments where you physically cannot get what you want, and there's no middle ground. Sometimes the AI is super aggressive and constantly attacking. Other times you can stand there and they literally do nothing. It's as if they've all been lobotomized. It is absolutely baffling. But a newcomer to this video and to this game in general might think, well, this looks pretty cowardly because you're running away. Why would you do that when you've got all these powerful abilities and you said earlier that your character's overpowered if you know how to use the combat? Ooh, the Caragor got stuck in the graphics as well, that was funny. But the reason I'm running away is because when you lose sight of the enemy, it allows you to do executions on them. And if any of these people don't have an immunity to stealth executions, I can instantly kill them, and I'm trying to get a couple of cheeky ones. If this was later on in the game, I would have the ability to brutalize, which is something you're not going to see me do, but you're going to hear me talk about a lot. Brutalize is an ability I didn't really understand until post-game and post-walkthrough. I thought, what's the point in doing a noisy execution when all it does is have a percentage of a chance to scare people away? I didn't think it was that useful. I was wrong. Not only does it give you 5 immediate combo points to put you in range to do a combat execution, but it has, when combined with the runes, the best way of thinning out the herd of enemies that try and stop you from grabbing people, because they will get afraid and they'll run away. It is incredibly powerful. You can run into a crowd of enemies, do a brutalized kill on one of them, and immediately go into a combat execution on somebody else. If that person was a war chief and they weren't immune to combat executions, you would instantly kill him sometimes. For instance, if it was stealth, sorry. But it's so insanely powerful to be able to do it, and I'm going to try and get one here, but he's invulnerable, so that's not going to work on that guy, but that's an example of a good strategy. Another ability we'll get later on is when you press B to stun, it stuns whoever's in that radius, and you can stun about 3 or 4 orcs at the same time. That move is really good, but it is beaten only by the ability to jump over people and stun them. I can't even tell you how powerful that maneuver is. It's kind of crazy just how powerful you get on this game. It makes no sense that it didn't have, you know, some like fucking Sauron difficulty. And don't get me wrong, the game can be tough. You know, I don't think this is a tough game, but it can be in parts tough because of the sheer mechanics. And if anybody watched my live stream, and I'm gonna reference this live stream because I played 11 hours of this game on it in a row, and I don't normally get a chance to live stream because I can't, so it was a very rare occurrence, but it was a fun one, and about 30 people got to watch because that's the numbers that I pull in. But I came into a situation much like this, and the captain I was trying to kill had a shield and he was immune to everything. There was literally nothing I could do to him to hurt him quicker, so my strategy ended up being wait for him to attack, try and dodge past him, and then attack him from behind. And of course this game auto-locks, so I would run up his shield, and of course he countered running up his shield, and it was the most frustrating fight in the world. I was getting really mad. But instances like that have taught me the game can be really tough if you get into a situation where everything is against you. Another good example, in an area much like this, ooh, I just got killed then. If you don't do this, you will die, and people will be promoted. However, it's quite simple to do that, and yeah, it's effective as well to keep you alive. You can have an ability to kill people off that, but I don't have it, and I probably won't purchase it. But on the stream, I ended up running into a level 20 war chief. I was a pretty low level, or I felt like I was, because I couldn't hurt him. And his life was regenerating because he had a passive where if you set him on fire, he got his life back, and of course I didn't know this, so I was using barrels and things to try and kill him. It took me about 20 minutes to kill his captains so that I could just get it so it was me and him. And then when it was me and him, there were so many orcs turning up all the time, perpetually, that I could not get to a good rhythm of doing damage to him, which was minuscule and took forever, and staying alive because I was gradually taking hits. And after quite a long time of suffering, and he killed me a whole bunch of times, I managed to take him out, or I managed to get him low on life, I should say, and he ran away from me, so I had to chase him down. And it was one of the most nerve-wracking parts of the entire stream, because there was this dude who it literally taken me about an hour to weaken, and I had the kill. I had him weak enough to kill him, and the motherfucker was running away, and of course I couldn't get the lock on I wanted, because Talion was throwing daggers at the wrong people. I didn't have any arrows, so I had to try and find arrows so I could finish him off. That was the key in the end, you see. He was weak to arrows, and unfortunately I didn't have too many upgrades at that point for my arrows, so I was limited to about 4 of them. And I was using the shadow strikes, and then I was picking up arrows, and I was shadow striking him again. It took a while, but I learnt so much from it. I learnt how to approach these innumerable odds without the ability to brand, even though, shit, I do have the brand. What am I talking about? Why am I not doing that ability? So yeah, folks, I've just completely contradicted my strategy here, and I'm finally doing it, finally. So, now we've got him on his own. Oh, I said we've got him on his own, his captain's just over there. Now we've got rid of, I think, 1 captain. I'm going to start branding the men around him. Because when you brand them, you can turn them against the people that they're supposed to work for, and it's very quick to do. You hold B at any given moment within range, and you'll do a Darth Vader choke, and after the bar fills, that soldier will be yours. But look at that. He has a fear of burning, immediately into Shadow Strike, immediately into Interrogate, and kill. I can't remember if I've mentioned this either. The load times on these sequences take forever. So I've trimmed them out, and for the most I've trimmed this entire sequence out. I kept that in so I could remind you that every time I do this on a captain, I'm learning about the war chiefs. And when I say learning, I'm learning where they are. So I'm making sure I know where they all are on the map. I'm not doing it again on them to get the weaknesses and things. Or I'm not intentionally anyhow. But this guy is invulnerable to range, so that's not going to work on him. So we're going to try to dwindle him down / turn his army against him. So flurries work, but the execution on the flurry doesn't work. So I'm just going to keep hopping over him, I'm going to stun him, and I'm going to hit him with some flurries. That right there was me avoiding the spear guy, and it jumped over him, which worked quite well. And you might be wondering why I keep doing that. I'm not intentionally, I'm doing too many flurries. At this point I didn't realise there was a benefit to doing the amount of flurries you can do before the execution animation, and then jumping again. And what you can do here is you can flurry 5 or 6 hits, jump over them, flurry 5 or 6 hits and jump over them, and you never see that animation, and it's much quicker. But you'll notice it's taking forever because I'm not doing any damage to him because he's tough. So I'm thinning the ranks, but they'll just replenish. So I definitely recommend, if you have it, which you probably don't at this point, the combat brand. The best thing about the combat brand is you can use it in sync with the Shadow Strike to infinitely kill things. If you have a rune that means whenever you do a drain, it gives you back your arrows, you can chain arrow executions until you have enough combo points to immediately do a combat brand and then go back to chaining the arrow execution. You can kill 100 orcs without taking a single hit, without doing anything but 2 inputs. It takes no skill, it is insanely overpowered, and it's really, really useful. So, if you didn't think to do that, that is a Christmas gift, because it is insanely powerful. Of course, if the person you're fighting is immune to either of those things, it's not going to work, but for everybody else, it's fucking Asda price, and it's brilliant. But I've dwindled his life a little bit, getting slightly frustrated here, so I run and I stab this fella. Every so often you have to run away. Sometimes it can help you, sometimes it doesn't. You know, you don't have to if you don't want to. I spot a hive, I drop the hornets on them. I'm praying that it shows a little vignette of the... Oh, I'm stuck. Of the war chief running away. Have I mentioned that? What you just saw then is my biggest gripe with this game. Ignore the graphics, ignore the performance, ignore all the port problems. The game itself. Whenever Talion gets close to any piece of geometry, he has this magnetism to it that makes him feel like a piece of shit. He feels like a fridge with one wheel, and you're trying to shift it on your own. It's completely counterintuitive to how good the game feels when you're not in those moments, and it's really sad. And it only happens whenever he's close to objects, and I was postulating on my stream that maybe it's to do with this animation context-sensitive nonsense that Uncharted has kind of told everybody, or showed everybody the way with, and everyone else is copying. And if you don't know what I mean, whenever Drake is near a wall, he puts his hand on it. But it alters the state of his mobility. And it does it in Uncharted, but nowhere near as egregious as this. And a lot of games that have copied it seem to don't realise that there's this movement penalty that you get from moving away, when you wouldn't have had that if you'd have stopped anywhere else. And as much as I love immersion, and I love the realism of him touching things and interacting with his environment, please don't make it affect the way I move. It's the only thing I've got. Literally. But thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.